to welcome you all, and great to have such a crowd. It's already a bigger crowd than we ever managed to get in Cambridge in our lectures, because the room simply isn't big enough for more than 40 people or so. So it's great in some ways to know that the situation that we find ourselves in now at least has some positive effects, and maybe even when the virus has gone away, if it ever does, we'll have to go on doing things like this. Anyway, I want to say, first of all, a word or two about the Ancient India and Iran Trust, because not all of you are familiar with it. So the trust is based in Cambridge, as I suppose you know, and its mission is to make sure that the study of ancient India and Iran and associated places, Central Asia, for instance, never disappears from the study, never disappears from the syllabus, as it were, and that people can go on studying it, even if the university should decide that they can't afford to support it as teaching anymore. So the trust exists to make sure that Indian and Iranian studies survive forever, and we hope that will be so. We've got a wonderful library. You can't actually see it because none of us are in the building except for Manisha, who's sitting in her office with lots of files behind her. But if she was in another room, you'd see lots and lots of very nice books. Anyway, that's the trust, and we hope we're doing a good job, and we hope that it's a useful job making this lecture available online. And now it's my job to introduce Joe Cribb. I think a lot of you know very well who he is. He's of course a world famous numismatist, and was the keeper of the Department of Coins and Medals in the British Museum for many years, now retired. He was also president of the Royal Numismatic Society, and we're very proud and pleased to have him nowadays as one of the trustees of the Ancient India and Iran Trust. I also am particularly pleased that I've been able to collaborate with Joe over the years. We even jointly won a prize once, didn't we, for an article that we wrote? Yeah, it was great. And I got to go to Japan and receive it, and Joe chose to stay at home, and he still received it, but he didn't have to give a talk. So now he's going to make up for it by giving a talk today. And we look forward very much to his talk, the title of which is Coinage in Afghanistan During the Period of Islamic Conquest. So over to you, Joe.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'll start off by setting my PowerPoint up. Well, this is a topic I've been working on for the last year. Normally I work on Juzjan coins, but something happened which led me off into looking at this period. And, at the bottom of the screen, you can see a list of people who have contributed to this, some in person, such as Nicholas, who's given me lots of advice on Bactrian inscriptions, my former colleagues Elizabeth Errington and Vesta Curtis, and other people who have given me help through their publications. So it's a sort of the product of a lot of collaborative work. Doesn't want to, sorry, my PowerPoint for some reason doesn't want to move. Oh, okay. All right. What prompted this study is working with Elizabeth Errington on her massive Masson project. And on the screen, you see the third volume of her publications on the subject, which is now in its final stages of being prepared for printing. The proofs are now in their final reading stage. Elizabeth started in 1992. I met her at the Trust when we were working on Crossroads of Asia exhibition. And since then, she's been working on the collection of Charles Masson that's in the British Museum. We also found part of the collection in the British Library. There are other bits in the Fitzwilliam Museum. And in order to finish the last volume, I said I would write an essay on what the coins that Masson found, particularly at Begram. And so you can see in the bottom right-hand corner a chapter that I've written for the book. And while I was writing this, I realized that there were a group of coins which didn't come from Bagram, but which Masson acquired in the Kabul market, which posed lots of interesting questions. And the three coins in the red square are coins issued by the Arabs during the early phase of the Islamic period. And they're copies of Persian coins issued by the Sassanian emperors. And in the square at the top, there's a coin which has some similarity to those. It's based on Sassanian coins, but is issued by Turks in southern Afghanistan. So finding these in Masson's collection started me thinking about them, and what follows is a consequence of those thoughts. So Masson's early Islamic coins are quite numerous, and from the British Museum collection, and these pieces are all from the Fitzwilliam Museum, one can recognize them because quite often they have countermarks on them. So put them all together and you can see that they almost certainly come from a hoard. And in Masson's reports, he describes acquiring a large group of such coins. They have these countermarks on them, and most of the coins that he acquired had countermarks. A few of them, like this one, didn't. He chose this one to illustrate because it was clean and didn't have countermarks. And in his manuscript, there's a picture of this coin that's now in the Fitzwilliam. They relate to the period when Islam was arriving in Afghanistan. After the conquest of Iran, the Arab armies continued to move to the east, and these two maps, one from the recent Atlas of Islamic History, the other from the Cambridge History of Islam, show the territories that they conquered as they progressed. And as they moved east, the armies penetrated fairly quickly into the region, meeting with a mixed success. According to this atlas, the pale green area was added after AH 41. Sorry, the pale green came after AH 41. But as you'll see, this is not entirely an accurate picture. The process of conquest is also illustrated by the first Umayyad coins. So after the imitation Sassanian coins, there was a reform of the Umayyad coinage, and a new Islamic dirham began. And within a year of them starting to issue them, there were mints in Afghanistan responsible for production of such coins. So Herat and Seistan were well within the territory controlled by the Muslims. There were campaigns into this area, and in the early years of the coinage, coins were issued at Balkh and a place called Tokaristan, which is presumably somewhere in Bactria that isn't Balkh. There's also a coin issued a place called Anbir, which is Sar-e Pol in northwestern Afghanistan. And that's of the ones issued beyond the western boundaries. It's issued in the year after the reform was introduced, so very early. So this is the area where the coin of Anbir was issued, and this is going to be one of the focuses of my presentation. The other, in the second half of the talk, I'll be talking about the territory which the Arabs tried to conquer. You know, this map of painting this area green is inaccurate because the line here is about as far as the Arabs managed to control directly. This area stayed independent of the Arabs for the next 200 years. And there it is on a Google Earth map, just to sort of show you the geographical position of those areas and the main cities that are involved. Okay, so in Afghanistan, as the Arab armies penetrated and were firmly fixed in eastern Iran and on the western boundaries of Afghanistan, the coinage that was in circulation was these coins issued in the style of Sassanian coins issued by Arab governors in Iran. And they replaced the name of the Sassanian emperor with their own names, marked with the arrows. And they also put on the edge of the coins the words "in the name of God." So the only Arabic on the coins was the Bismillah. The rest of the coinage is inscribed in Pahlavi. This one still retains the name of the Sassanian emperor. These two have the names of the governors. The only place that appears to have issued coins like this in Afghanistan is again Anbir. The coins in style of the Sassanians issued by the Arabs some of them have the name of the mint of Anbir inscribed on them. This one is very odd because it not only has the name of Anbir, but also has the name of another mint on it. So it's a rather odd coin, and it's difficult to explain why it's got two mint names on it. But the Anbir is located here. The coins that have the mint name of Anbir on them, these examples also have Bactrian inscriptions added to the design. So on this coin, at the top, it's written in the margin, and it says Gozogano, which is the name of the kingdom of Juzjan or Guzgan, which is the capital, which is the kingdom based around the capital Anbir. The coins have inscriptions on them which give dates, and trying to understand these dates is part of the problem that I encountered as soon as I started to look at these coins. Some of the coins also have written in the margin on the back the name of the mint, Anbir, written in Bactrian. So the mint is written in Pahlavi and in Bactrian on the coins. This place Anbir is mentioned in the Arab geography, the Hudud al-Alam, which was written for the ruler of Juzjan in the late Abbasid period, and it talks about the capital Anbir. It says it's the capital of the ruler of Juzjan, and it is an important town acting as a trading post towards Balkh, and the ruler of Juzjan also controls the surrounding regions of northern Afghanistan. And the coins are, as I said, the dates on them are rather puzzling, because we have the names of the Arab governors and we know the dates that they ruled, but the date on this piece says year 63. If it's AH 63, it's during his reign. But the coins have a feature on them, an outer circle, which doesn't appear on Arab coins until AH 72. So another explanation for the date is that it's not in the Muslim era, but in the Yazdegerd era. Many of the Arab Sassanian coins use this era. So if it's the Arab Sassanian era, then it would be slightly later in AD 694. So these coins, the dates on them have led to much confusion about what is going on. This coin is very odd because it says Ambir in Bactrian up here, but the mint, the Arab mint here is Merv. And so it's a puzzle as to what's going on. But the most likely explanation is that these are using elements of the designs of the Arab Sassanian coins, but they're being made locally in Ambir. So one can't necessarily believe the name of the governor or the date or the mint name as an indication of where and when it was issued. Within this series, with a date of year 69, which if it's in the Yazdegerd era is just after those other coins, there's a coin which instead of the name of the Arab governor has a name written in Bactrian, which says Julad Guzgan, Zolado Gozagano in Bactrian. And this Guzgan is the name of the place, so presumably this is the person's name, that he is Julad of Guzgan. And his coin, again, like the previous one, was with the names of Arab governors, still has the name of Merv as the mint on it, but in the margin it says Ambir. So he's now issuing coins in his own of his own, which still retain elements of the design of the coins of the Arab governors. Slightly later, here you can see his name again, written in Bactrian. He adds to the back of his coins another title, which is the Bactrian, which says Gorigo Shao, which seems to mean the king of Gar. And the dates on the coins jump from being on the previous one. The previous coin is year 69, which equals AH 81. This coin is now dated 89, which suggests that it's now a Hijra date rather than a date in the Yazdegerd era. He also has the Bismillah on his coins as well. So, either he's copying the prototypes, the Arab prototypes, or he actually is acknowledging Islam. The coins in the hoard that Charles Masson acquired have many countermarks on them, as I said. And when one looks at them carefully, one realizes that this one and the ones on the left both have the name of Julad, Zolado, stamped on them. And it's written exactly the same way as it is on his own coins. So these are some of the Ambir coins issued in the names of governors. So this one in the name of governor. This one is a coin of Khusru. This is a coin of Julad's own coin, one of his own coins. So he's countermarking his own coins. There are also two other names appearing on these coins. One is Skag, and the other is Besut. And these all appear with the same tamga above them. So, excuse me, it's jumping. The Tamga suggests that Skag and Besut and Julad are all part of the same kingdom. Now, sort of looking at the hoard as a whole, we can see this hoard, a large part of it's in the British Museum and in the Fitzwilliam was directly coming from Masson, but in the Ashmolean and in the Indian Museum and also in the British Museum, there are other parts of the hoard which seem to have been acquired in Calcutta a few years after Masson collected his coins. So putting the whole lot together, I've found 214 coins that one can be fairly confident come from the hoard. And in the hoard, the latest coins are the issues of Julad Guzgan and the coins with the name, the mint name of Ambir in other people's names. And many of the coins in the hoard have been countermarked. So more than a quarter of the hoard have been countermarked by Skag, 1 coin by Besut and 8 coins by Julad. So the coins, not only do they include coins of Julad that he issued himself, but the coins have been in circulation in his territory and the territory of 2 other rulers who relate to him. It suggests that the whole hoard has been in circulation in his territory. A map of the region showing where the coins come from shows that the majority of the coins, a large bulk of the coins are coming from the regions of Iran to the immediate west of Juzjan. The next largest group come from Bishapur, which is the most productive mint area in the state, but there are also coins coming from elsewhere in the Arab territory that have been captured from the Sassanians. The countermarks of Skag and Besut are linked with Julad by the use of the same Tamga, but also now, thanks to the Bactrian documents, we also know that Skag also had the name Skag Guzgan, like Julad Guzgan. And from the Bactrian documents, we have several people called Guzgan, and some of the documents are dated, so we can put them into a chronological context. There is a Julad Guzgan mentioned in the documents, but he probably isn't the same person as the coin issuer. Maybe he's a member of the same family. He's identified as the son of the predecessor of Skag, and so he's probably an uncle of the Julad Guzgan who issues coins. And when sort of putting the dates on the coins together with the dates in the inscriptions, one can construct a chronology. This is aided and abetted by the way the countermarks are applied, because from the countermarked coins one can see the dates when they were issued, and the king must be ruling after that date, and when he stops countermarking coins, the date of the last coin he countermarks, it gives some indication of the end of his reign. And so we can put Besut in between Skag and Julad, but only ruling for a short period. Taking all the coins of Ambir together, these are the ones in the hoard. There are 17 of them in the hoard. I've counted from private collections, public collections, sale catalogues, etc., another 56 examples to create a clearer picture of what is happening. And we have, the period, as I said, of Arab governors' names appearing on these coins, and one can then put them in order by their dates, but also it's possible to use other features to organize them by date. So the fact that there's an outer circle, I mentioned it earlier, on the coins. Some of the coins don't have the outer circle, most of them do, but if this is an indication of changing practice at the mint of Ambir, it helps. The adding of the name in Bactrian is coming immediately after the adding of the outer circle. The Tamga doesn't appear until right at the end of the issue. So from the numismatic point of view, by comparing the coins, I've created this sequence of issue. And sorry, to go back one. Let me go back to the post-reform coin that was minted in Ambir. It sits in the middle of this coinage, immediately before Julai Guzgan starts to issue his own coins.
It's 18
so
hours.
It is a puzzle as to what exactly is going on. Why was this coin issued when immediately after it, the local governor is issuing coins in his own name, ignoring the Arab governors? There's also a coin which slots into this, which we now have 3 examples of, which has the name of Julai Guzgan on it, but on the obverse it names a governor who was ruling in the year that it says on it, and it has an exceptional design, and it would be difficult to believe that a coin of this quality didn't involve the administration of the governor who's named on it. And we can be even more certain of that because on the back it says in Arabic that it was struck as the tax on non-Muslims for Juzjan. So it's a coin made to pay taxes to this governor, Yazid. And it's from the date we can put it into a historical context, which I'll come to in a minute. But bizarrely, there is also a coin with the name of Julai Guzgan on it, which also says it was made for the jizya. It doesn't say for Guzgan on it as the one with Yazid's portrait on, but it is clearly part of the same concept. And in the year when this coin is dated, we actually know that Yazid imposed the jizya on one of Julai Guzgan's neighbors, a ruler called Nizak, who was in conflict and then working alongside the Arabs. He was a Turkish ruler in the far northwest of Afghanistan, and after a struggle with Yazid, he was humbled and he was forced to pay the poll tax. And this is in the year when this coin was issued. So perhaps he went on then after subduing Nizak, he would then maybe went on to Ambir and also got the same out of Julai Guzgan. And putting that into a sort of historical table, here are the governors of Khorasan, which is the territory to the west of Juzjan. Here's Nizak submitting to Yazid, paying him the jizya. Then there's a revolt. After a period of working with his Yazid's successor, he rebels and gets killed. And while he rebels, the ruler of Juzjan, who must be Julad Juzjan, joins the revolt and then also submits. And it's very interesting to see that the coinage stops when before he rebels. So the last issue is in the year before the rebellion. And after that, there are no more coins of Julad Kuzgan. So this is sort of putting, here are all the coins of Ambir, and the jizya coins are sort of fitting into a sequence of Julad Kuzgan's coins and the post-reform dirham coming before them. And we can also look at the Bactrian documents to see what how the coins played a part in what was going on in the region, because in the Bactrian documents there are frequent references to Sassanian style coins. Sometimes they're called Persian drams, sometimes they're called drams of Cavad, and when we get to this point, when according to the Al-Tabari, the kingdom of Gashistan, which presumably is the Gar that he's king of, falls to the Arab army and the king is converted, then the mention of Persian drams stops, and only then Arab coins are mentioned. And although these coins almost certainly are issued by Arabs, they're referred to in a completely different way to the post-reform coins, which must be being referred to after that date. They call the coins Cavad coins, although Cavad's coins were issued a long time before the Arab Sassanian coins. They share characteristics with Cavad's coins. Cavad's coins introduced new designs, which are then followed by later coins. And so presumably the name stuck once they'd given it that name. There's also gold dinars mentioned. Gold dinars haven't been issued in this territory for a very long time. And so these are presumably a money of account. And in one of the documents, there's an exchange rate between the two implied by the terms of fines being paid. This is a small aside. There is also in a private collection a coin, an Arab Sassanian coin copying Khusru II, with the Bismillah on it, which has the mint name of Balkh on it. It's stamped by both Besut and Julad, so it's certainly circulating in that area. Whether it's an Arab coin issue in Balkh, or whether it's a local coin copying Arab coins being issued in Balkh, but it definitely has the mint name Balkh. And there are also a group of imitations of Hormuz IV, who is the predecessor of Khusru II, which have the name of Balkon. They all have the year 11 on them, all absolutely identical. But one of them has got a countermark that appears on this coin, but also on many of the coins in Masson's hoard. So a bit of a puzzle, that one. Okay, so now I'm going to go south of the mountains and look at the coins of the rulers who controlled southeastern Afghanistan, and in spite of what those historical atlases were suggesting resisted the Arabs. And in the Arab sources, they tend to be called root bills. And there are some puzzles that creates. This is a coin of one of them. He calls himself Tegin, that's his, presumably his personal name, and he calls himself King of Khorasan. To the Arabs, Khorasan was the area to the west of northern Afghanistan. But he's calling himself, he's ruling in this area and calling himself the King of Khorasan. This is a sort of an array of coins. It's not every single type of the coins issued during the period when the Arabs were trying to conquer this part of Afghanistan. The earliest coins are coins which have an inscription which says Nezak Malk on them. And they're characterized by being in the Sassanian style and having a bull's head on the king's crown. Some of them, the latest issues, as well as having Nezak Malk written on them, also say the ruler of Bactria on them. But these coins are minted in Kandahar. They have the mint name of the province of Kandahar on them. And they have a distinctive tamga on them, which there are also copper coins with the same tamga. When this coinage ends and it's replaced with similar coins, but without the buffalo head. And sometimes they just have, this one is a wheel and a trident, so symbols of Hinduism. This one has a lion on it. The lion here is, and this becomes a sort of normality for the coinage in this area. So in the next row, all the coins have a lion on the crown, but they also have the bull, as though the bull has been subordinated by the lion. So these are clearly dynastic emblems. And the lion, because of the wings on the crown, the lion is a winged lion, and in some contexts it becomes a senma of the winged lion from Sassanian art. The rulers who issued these coins, this king is called Sar, and the coins like this were found in a Buddhist monument dated 718 in the from the Bactrian era, and the coins which have the title of Rutbil on them in a similar sort of appearance, and coins of Tegin, the king of Khorasan, and these ones are dated in the Bactrian era, so we also have a date in the early 8th century for them. The next row with the sort of double emblem of the lion above the bull are issued by rulers who we don't know from any historical source. And then the last one, again, we meet Tegin again, but now with just the lion on his crown, and one of the rulers who has these just has the lion, and another ruler called Spur, who again we don't know from historical sources, and his coin says has the mint name Zabulistan on it, and that's Ghazni. And this Tegin king of Khorasan allows us to as well as his dated coins, also allows us to link it up with some references in Chinese texts to a king with the same name. And from that we know that he was ruling in 720, and that he abdicated in 739. And the same source names his son as Fulingisu, which almost certainly is a ruler called Fromo Kizaro. His name appears on his coins, and we know that he ruled from 739 to 745, and his son then came to the throne. His name was Bofujun, but we don't have any coins with the name Bofujun. We have coins which say spur, and the sequence of coins suggests that the spur coins come up immediately after the ones of Fromo Kizaro, so one can guess that he might be Bofujun. And then there's another ruler called Sandan, who we think might be connected with another Chinese source which refers to somebody called Jantan, who is the nephew of the king. And in the same source, the king who is being identified is Tegin. Tegin also seems to be mentioned in one of the Bactrian documents. It's dated during his reign, and it refers to a prince of Khorasan. So although it's not giving him title king, it's still suggestive of it being a reference to him. Then another aspect of these coins, which I've referred to as tamgas, the coins issued in Kandahar have this tamga on them, and these are coins with the Nezak emblem of the buffalo, coins with the lion's head, and here we have it turned into a senmerv, are also known with the same tamga. And I just started looking at the coins excavated at Kandahar, and there are quite a few of these coins in the excavations. So this is a coin that ties into the coinage issued in Zabulistan. This is a coin of the same ruler, issued from Zabulistan, Ghazni area, and it has the same tamga on the other side as appears on his coins from Zabulistan and also on the coins of Fromo Kizaro. So this seems to be the rulers of Zabulistan succeeding after the Nezak rulers in Kandahar. The coins issued in this period are there are many different varieties, and they have many different characteristics, and trying to make sense of all these characteristics is quite difficult. I've made a table of them to show you that there isn't really a clear pattern of movement of these titles. So we do have 4 rulers with the same title, but two of them have a different title, and 4 of them issue coins at Zabulistan, but the last one doesn't put any mint name on his coins. There are dates, so this one we can be fairly sure is in the Bactrian era. Is this in the Laukika era, or is it a Muslim era? It's more difficult to tell. Then you have dates which go 2, 1, 4 through to 15. So should the 2 be in after the 1? The coins that they appear on are very closely related, and so on. It's a complicated picture. The coins of Spur, who looks like he's the son of Fromo Kizaro, and of Sandan, these appear to be the last 2 rulers issuing coins in this Sassanian style. Both put in Pahlavi the Bismillah on their coins. So it's written in Pahlavi, but is a translation of Bismillah. So had they by this stage converted, or were they making acknowledgement of the superiority of the Arab governors further to the west. It's not clear. So when we put the coins, the dates on the coins alongside the dates from the Chinese texts, the coins that relate to Fromo-Khazaro seem to fall into a period that ends with the year 7, and the dates that the Chinese tell us also suggest that he had a 7-year reign. So it's looking very much as though we're these dates, difficult to know why they carry on into the next reign, but match up with what the Chinese are telling us about the chronology. Fromo-Khazaro is a very exceptional person, because as well as being mentioned in the Chinese texts, his coins also carry a message that he's defeated the Arabs. He took coins of Arab governors, Muslim imitations of coins of Khusru II, and these imitations of Hormizd IV, and countermarked them on both sides with a long inscription, which Nicholas has transcribed and translated, saying that it says, Fromo-Khazaro, Khazar, the noble lord who smote the Arabs. So his defeat of the Arabs is commemorated in this way. Some of the coins of the Hormizd imitation series from with the mint name of Balk on them have a countermark on the back, which seems to also refer to Fromo-Khazaro. So this one with the full inscription, this one with just a single abbreviated countermark. We also have a lot of information about this period, frustrating information from the Chinese chronicles, saying that the king of Kandahar was Tegin, and the king of Zabul was Iltabar, which is the Rutbil that the Arabs refer to him as. And it's curious that we have kings ruling in Gandhara and Zabul, because we don't have any coins of this series from Gandhara. The monk who traveled through the area in the reign of Tegin said that Kabul was ruled by the Turkish king of Kandahar, and so both Kabul and Gandhara are being ruled by Tegin, but we don't have any coins of Tegin that reference a mint at Kabul. All the coins, all the mints on his coins are Zabulistan. So it's a bit of a puzzle. And it seems to imply that there are two different kingdoms there, but they're related because he's the nephew of the king of Kabul. So different branches of a Turkish family. In Bamiyan, he encountered a ruler who wasn't Turkish, and certainly the coins that were found near Bamiyan, issued in the stupa of 718, have a related but different design on them, and the ruler is called a Sir rather than a Shah. And another monk came into the area later on and saw a Buddhist monastery named after Tegin, but 30 years after Tegin had abdicated. And it mentions Sandan, and he said he's the king's younger brother, but it's not clear whether he's referring to Tegin or to some other living king. And so Sandan, the coin issuer, might be this Sandan. So then I went through Bosworth's Sistan under the Arabs and various other things to try and get a sense of what the Arabs were trying to do at this period. And in the Arab histories and so forth that Bosworth collected, there's a lot of attempts by the Arabs to conquer this area. You can see right from 653 onwards, here we are in the period of the coins I've been talking about, the time of Fromo Khazaro and his son and Sandan. And so this is just a continual series of attempts to conquer it. So occasionally they attack and they hold Kandahar, for periods, and even appoint a governor for Kandahar for a brief while. They capture Kabul for a year and then they're driven out again. But they never seem to be successful until 870, which is over 200 years of attempts to capture this area. And it seems to have maintained independence throughout that period. Well, if you sort of now go back and look at it as an overall thing, the coins that the Arabs issued in imitation of Sassanian coins seem to have formed the dominant currency of the area and prompted imitations of them to be made in northern Afghanistan, and in southern Afghanistan form the sort of shape of the designs of these local kings. Even though they're resisting the Arabs, they are accepting Arab money and making their own versions of it. And this started me thinking about, you know, what going back to the hoard, because a few weeks ago, a coin collector in Pakistan sent me pictures of a hoard that he'd found in Gandhara of Arab coins. The hoard consisted of late Sassanian and early Arab Sassanian coins. And one of them had a countermark on it, which has the flying lion, which appears on the coins of the kings of Zabulistan. So here we are on coin of Spur, coin of Pangal. And so I was thinking, well, maybe these countermarks relate to that kingdom. And in fact, Robert Goebel many years ago suggested that. And so then I went back to look at Masson's hoard, and a quarter of them have got Skag's countermark on, a quarter of them have got flying lions on them. And this made me think, well, either this hoard, you know, part of this hoard was in southern Afghanistan before it went to northern Afghanistan, or it came to southern Afghanistan after it was in the north. And among the countermarks, like the coins from Balk with a countermark which seems to relate to Fromo Khazaro, there are countermarks, excuse me, on these coins which have the same inscription. They say 4, so the beginning part of this. And on one of Fromo Khazar's coins, it's spelt, his name is spelt Fromo Khazaro. So maybe these are countermarks of Fromo Khazar on these coins. There's the flying lion on both of them. And this one has 2 countermarks, this one and this one. This one is the same as that one. So the coins in Masson's hoard have countermarks that come from south of the Hindu Kush, and he acquired it in Kabul. He said when he bought it in the market, in his manuscripts, he said maybe it came from Turkestan, meaning maybe it came from northern Afghanistan. But it looks like a distinct possibility that the hoard was found south of the Hindu Kush. One of the two or three of the coins have an inscription in Pahlavi which says Sandan, so maybe it's the same Sandan as is issuing coins. This coin has also got a countermark of skag and a flying lion and a thing that looks like a horseshoe, which we've seen on a few other coins already. And one of the coins in the hoard has a countermark, which is the countermark that appears on the coins from Kandahar. So there it is. The flying lion also appears on the coins you saw before were all imitations of Khusru II. These are all Arab Sassanian issues in the name of Khusru II. And again, they all have these countermarks. This one's got countermarks of skag and flying lions. And Gierschmann reported that one of the coins found in the excavations at Fundukistan had the same countermarks on it. He said it was an Arab Sassanian coin, but it didn't show a picture of it. And it was found underneath these sculptures. So if it had these stamps on, could it be that this, although the coin was dated 668 AD, it's a coin from the 8th century, if it has these countermarks on it. And in the Manikyala stupa, there's a coin of Tegin in the stupa, the one that's dated year 77, which, depending upon which era it's in, it's one of these dates. And it has this same ring-shaped, horseshoe-shaped countermark. And similar coins were found in the Bukhara, a similar coin found in the Bukhara excavation. So this ring shape and the lion stamps are from the south of the Hindu Kush, and such coins spread beyond the Khyber Pass into Gandhara and beyond into the Punjab. So it raises a question about the hoard now that when I first started working on it, I was thinking, oh, the coins of Julad Kuzgan are the latest coins in it, and it was buried some date around 708, 710. But if the coins that have these countermarks of which look like countermarks of Fromo Kizaro on them, then it could be that it's a hoard that was put together initially in northern Afghanistan, then moved into southern Afghanistan, and was buried a few decades later. Unfortunately, I can't tell. It's not possible to work out which countermarks went on after which. The coins of Sandan seem to be the last coins in the style of Arab Sassanian coins. The Arab Sassanian coinage had finished in Iran and was being replaced by the reformed dirhams long before Sandan's issued these coins. After him, a completely new coinage appeared, and it still had Bactrian inscriptions and Indian inscriptions in the same way as Sandan's coins had, but with completely new designs. And this coinage then became standard. These rulers are also seem to be Turks. The Arabs continue to call them the Rutbils, right down until this kingdom was put out of action by the invasion of the Safavids. And these coins are quite common at Begram. So they're called the Kabul Shahis in modern literature. So they're ruling the territory that was previously ruled by Tegin and his successors. And Later, towards the end of the series, one starts to see Arab words appearing on the coins. You know, is this an indication of their conversion, or is it just that there's a lot of Arabs around, so they want to indicate to the Arabs that the coins are good? And then when the Arabs do conquer the area, they carry on issuing coins like this, but with Arabic inscriptions. So going back to where we started, the map showing the what the territory controlled by the Umayyads is somewhat deceitful. Certainly there were campaigns to these cities which were briefly successful, but this whole area here remained out of Arab control for 200 years after it was first attacked by the Arabs. And that's the end of my talk. Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Joe. And that was a fascinating, if somewhat complicated and hard to remember collection of data. I mean, great stuff, especially for people like me who work on these, who are not at all numismatists, but are interested in the history of this area and so on. So thank you very much. Quite a number of people have put some questions into the chat.
Yeah.
Oops, I had it there for a minute. And perhaps we should go back to the first question that there in the chat from Almut, who says, what was the function of the jizya coins?
Yeah, perhaps I should explain that I wasn't really asking what's the jizya, but I was intrigued by the comment that that there are these coins with these coins struck for jizya, and so I'm struck by this idea that they might have minted coins in order for the jizya for that purpose.
Well, I presume that the Arabs would said you have to pay the jizya, so many dirhams of jizya, and so they took that literally and made dirhams to pay the jizya.
That's what I suspected. Yeah. That's a good way out. Doesn't this lead to inflation? Or something?
There's another way of explaining it, that maybe the coins are representing the coining of the what's come in through tax. That as the tax comes in, the treasury then mints it into coins. And for some unknown reason, they decided to put this has paid for the jizya.
So it's in lieu of the jizya.
Yeah, it just says struck.
Jizya would have been paid perhaps in valuable raw material.
Yeah, it could be paid in other coins, and that they decided to re-coin it, make sure it was good quality. One can translate it as paid for the jizya for thing, but the grammar's a bit empty, I think. It says struck jizya, and then Juzjan.
There's a related question here from Jenny Rose, who asks whether the composition of the jizya coins is different in any way, presumably from other.
I don't know of anybody doing any analyses of these coins.
So we don't know
the coins being made in Juzjan look good silver, unlike the coins from south of the Hindu Kush, which are definitely not. That's about as far as I could go.
There's a question from Mark Lecky Thompson whether a lot of counterfeit coins were made.
Well, I haven't seen any significant evidence of unofficial coin production. There's a lot of imitation taking place. So a lot of the early Arab coins still have the name of Khusru on them, and to all intents and purposes, they are copies of Sassanian coins. but with slight changes to, adding of the Bismillah and a new date on them. Otherwise, they're imitations. So I don't think forgery is a big problem, as far as I'm aware.
Okay, and then there's a question from, oh, it's disappeared, sorry, suddenly. Just I was about to say, from Gurdas Tadwal, who asked whether the coins connect Afghanistan to the neighboring Punjab. Did the kingdoms cross modern borders?
Certainly, the Chinese make it very clear that Gandhara and Kabul are ruled by the same person. Whether it goes as far as the Punjab, I don't think we have enough information about the Punjab at this time to know who ruled it. A lot of the political history is constructed out of the coins and rare inscriptions. And there are periods when there are quite a lot of inscriptions, and there are periods when there are very few. And this period after the Huns, there aren't that many Hun inscriptions, but there are even less. There's the Tochi Valley inscriptions, which are I think the only Arab inscriptions I know of in Pakistan at this period. It's very thin evidence. We learn as much from the Chinese as we do from anywhere else.
Okay, I want to put in a question of my own, because just at the end, Joe, you were talking about these coins of someone called Spalbid or Spalabhati.
Yes.
You said that these have Bactrian inscriptions, but I don't remember ever seeing these Bactrian inscriptions. So you didn't illustrate one.
They Sri Spalabido.
But the ones you illustrated didn't have anything in Bactrian on them.
Hold on, if I can go back. Got to find the. Yeah, it's what's written there. Can you see?
Where? I can't see what you're pointing at.
Oh, the green, where the green arrow is.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That says Sri Spalabido.
Are you sure? Okay, I'll have to take your word for it at the moment.
I've looked at. These coins tend to be badly made, but I've looked at a lot of them, and the way it's written is there is one of the Bactrian documents has got Sri Spalabido in it, and it's written in almost identical way.
Oh, okay. Well, I shall have a good look at those at some point. That's very interesting. Thank you very much. Okay, well, if we go back to the chat, I think there's another one or two questions. Jenny Rose has a question. Did the Sassanian type coins use existing Sassanian mints and stamps, or were they new copies in new locations?
There were a lot of the mints continued producing for the Arabs, but the Arabs also opened new mints as well. So there's a sort of mix of continuity and innovation. But the designs, apart from changing the inscriptions, the designs stay fairly static throughout that early period of Islamic conquest. And it's clear that the number of these coins that are around is what shaped the coinage south of the mountains. And if those countermarks by the southern kings go on into the 8th century, then they last long after the Arabs had stopped issuing them and replaced them with the reformed coins.
Okay, thanks. Well, now we've got a couple more questions, and perhaps at that point we perhaps should wrap it up. But Kevin Smith has a question. Did the type of coinage influence minting outside their own borders in quotation marks? Did peoples, cultures, nations copy the change or get influenced?
Well, I think the coinage, one of the aspects of coinage is that stability in appearance is an important factor of the success of a coinage. So that if you want to make new coins, you make them a bit like coins that already exist, so that people continue to accept them. And so that has a profound effect on coinage, and it's a almost universal phenomenon. And so the bulk of coinage before the Arab invasion of Iran and Afghanistan was Sassanian, and the Turks issue coins to make them look like Sassanian coins. So the Nezak coins look like Sassanian. Before them, the Huns issued coins that look like Sassanian coins. And so when the Arabs come, they continue that. And clearly in the Zabulistan and Kabul area, that influence continued longer than it did in the sort of in Iran. Because the Umayyad caliphs carried out a reform which replaced, once they were powerful and established, they could dictate what coinage looked like. It didn't demand, the market's demand for coins that looked like old coins was not as strong as the Arab control of the area. And so they were able to introduce new coins, but their new coins were the same size and had the same borders as the Sassanian coins. They just replaced the portrait of the Sassanian king with an inscription, a religious inscription. So there was some continuity, but that sort of their establishment of power enabled them to make that change. And it's the replacement of the coins after the Zabulistan ones by the coins with the bull and the horsemen on them by the Kabul Shahis also is a similar sort of phenomenon. There must have been some authority within that kingdom that allowed them to get rid of all the old coins and introduce a new coinage, and that coinage then exercised a similar influence. So there were coins with that bull and horseman design continuing to be issued. They start about 760, 770. There are still coins with that design being issued in the 14th century. There's always that sort of conservatism with occasional abrupt changes within coin design.
Okay, Joe, the final question, and this is Abdul Hafiz Lati, who says he'd like to make the question himself.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Cribb, for such an informative lecture. Actually, I'm not a numismatist to say something about this, but really I'm very happy to know more about this collection of Charles Masson and other coins related to the Islamic coins of Afghanistan. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
My question is that what do you think when Kabul was captured by the Islamic emperor and in any time? So what's your opinion about that? Because at the end of your lecture, you have mentioned that Kabul was captured by the Safavids. Safavids around 870. Yes?
Yeah. Yes.
870, 69 or 70. So because since 2004, the excavations around the Kabul, especially from the site of Tapena Range and Kholetut, and another site next to that. So it testifies the presence of Kabul Shahid, and this and there is also a testimony by Al-Biruni that in the late 9th century, these people were in political and military contact with the Ghaznavid Empire. So what do you think about this, and what's your opinion regarding this? Thank you so much.
So you're saying that they, after the Safavids, they continued the Kabul Shahis carried on. Is that what you're saying, that the Kabul Shahis carried on after 870?
Yes, definitely, because we have found some new kinds there, and those kinds have been not studied, but it is there. And according to the excavator, he also mentioned about this fact that Islam came around the Kabul like in the late 9th century. So he has mentioned this fact in his paper in the Preserving the Cultural Heritage of Afghanistan. There is a book by the Chicago University. It's the publication of Chicago University, and I'm one of the editor of that book. There's in Farsi and English also. There's a proceeding of the conference. There in this site was excavated by Zafar Paiman.
Sorry, somebody just called me.
No problem.
My phone is connected into my computer, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah. So that problem. Yes, I would like to know more about that. Yes, it's you know the.
Yes, the site is called the Tapen Range in Kabul, in Shuhada Salihin area. So, and also the another site next to that, it is called Koletut. Just in 2018, I also participated in one session of excavation there. So the site was excavated by Zafar Paiman, assisted by the DAFA, and also later in this Koletut excavation by Italians as well. So I was one session I was part of that in 2018. So according to him, that he has mentioned in his paper that Kabul came in Kabul. Islam came in the region of Kabul around late 9th century, and this also he has given the testimony of Al-Biruni, and he has given a description of this. You may find that in that proceeding of the conference. It's by the Chicago University, Preserving the Cultural Heritage of Afghanistan.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we mustn't continue too long on this particular topic. I mean, Joe, do you want to say something quickly?
Well, there is some evidence that the Shahis fought back, but it's a period I'm very ignorant of. So, as I said at the beginning, I normally study Kushan coins, and the Masson material has led me into looking at this. But I've also just published a paper on Islamic coinage in the Begram area, and there is limited evidence of there was one Safarid coin found by Masson, but there are quite a few Samanid coins, which is probably the period when Islam becomes fully established, I think. So there's a mint at Begram called Parwan or Farwan, and there are coins issued but in the names of Samanids at that mint. So you know, by the time of the Samanids, the Shahis are no longer around, I think.
Okay, thanks very much.
Not into Pakistan.
Nicholas.
Okay, Norman Hammond is trying to show us a copy of Afghanistan Journal, I believe.
Yeah,
I don't know exactly
Afghanistan Volume 3, Number 2 for October 2020 has actually appeared in October, which is pretty good in the circumstances.
Yep.
Among the articles in it is one on the history of the British Institute at Kabul, the short, tumultuous history of the British Institute at Kabul by David Fleming. So I recommend you all take out a subscription to Afghanistan.
Okay, thanks very much, Norman. And now finally, I think we should just say a final thanks to Joe, who it's very kind of him to come out of his comfort zone to talk about this this late period, a very late period from his point of view. And so it's time, I think, now to let him go back into his comfort zone and have his birthday supper.
Oh, I've got to
Thanks very much.
Happy birthday, Joe.
Happy birthday.
Birthday, Joe.
And
Thank
goodbye,
you.
everybody.
Happy
Thanks for being with
birthday.
us.